So I want to show you the build that I'm going to plan on leveling for 3.17. This character is level 85, but as you can see here, I have only 33 skill points, and the reason for that is because I wanted to test to see how this build would perform. The only difference is there's no difference in damage having this much level. You are going to because I have this passive tree right here. So let's just put level 52 because this is the current level that I'm at, and I should have around 2.5k HP and 800 energy shield. So as you can see, there's only the only difference from level 85 and level 52, because I don't have allocated anything else on the passive tree, is only 900 HP. So in theory, this build should be about 900 HP weaker, and that's pretty much it. This is the build. This is very generic gear that you can get very easily. One thing that I should mention, because this is level 85, that means I have the penalty from the Kitava. So I had to invest a little bit more in the resistances, but still I don't think this build is something that you cannot get while leveling. Like there's nothing very expensive, there's nothing um, very rare, right? As you can see here, there's some life and very bad resistances. The same goes for this one. Um, Here the same. Same one. You can. This is just the recipe for this one. It's very easy to get. You can guarantee one resistance and that flat damage to spells. The boots very easy. There's nothing great about them. So this is just in a scenario. This is how this build would perform, right? So now I'm in level 51 area. This build should be around level 52, and we are going to test it even in higher acts. Let's see if this build performs. Like now we are going to blood aqueduct. By no means while you are leveling you should be much stronger than this, but now I just want to test it to see how it performs. Um, so as you can see, it's very easy even in blood aqueduct. Um, One thing is, in the new patch, or in the new league, uh, this build will deal a bit more damage the Spellslinger version, because they are buffing the flat damage to all the spells. Like they are going to get more damage, so this should be a bit more DPS. And here I don't have Frostbomb leveled, and I don't have Steel Skin leveled because this is how I purchased the gems. Um, the same goes for lesser multiple projectiles, and these are leveled. These three are leveled. Now let's see how if this build can clear Blood Aqueduct. As you can see, it handles it just fine. Uh, Still, you have to be careful not to take damage. Compared to the uh, self-cast Vortex, this Spellslinger is much weaker in terms of defenses, so um, you have to stay a bit more behind and play more carefully. But this is how I think this is how I plan to level the build. Now, if you can pay attention, I'm running out of mana. So maybe I will have to replace one life potion with a mana flask, just for the leveling. Um, because right now it seems like I'm having some mana issues. Um, So probably that's one change that I would make. I would not keep two life flasks, and I'll only keep one life flask and one mana flask, because I'm running out of mana. Um, the build it's a bit weaker than what it's supposed to be, because I don't have the steel skin leveled up yet, and I can afford a little bit of steel skin because I have 82 strength. So as you can see, this build should in theory be doing uh, let's do one more run of Blood Aqueduct because I want to pay attention if my HP drops below 1k. Because if my HP drops below 1k, that means I'm dead. But I don't think that's going to happen. Let's just test it. So this build should be fighting level 53, 56 maybe content, not 61 Blood Aqueduct, but yeah, as you can see, my HP doesn't go below. Let's kill this back here. Yeah, and we are going to do some bosses to see the boss DPS. And unfortunately, I don't have a TP. So we are going to do... I think we are going to do Solaris and Lunaris. Let's see if we have enough damage. Because this is almost the time when... where was that portal? By the way, my Frostbite is also level 1. I didn't replace it. And after we do Solaris and Lunaris, I'm going to show you the build, how it looks endgame, and show you a passive tree on what you should take. And I think it's about level 90 through maps, and after that you just swap to Chaos Inoculation. So now we do this boss fight again. I should be a couple levels higher, but let's see how it works, how it handles in terms of damage. And remember, next league it's going to be much easier because they're buffing the flat damage on all these spells: Frostbolt, Cold Snap, Creeping Frost, Vortex. So it's going to be a bit more damage. And pay attention if my HP drops below 1k. If my HP drops below 1k, that means the build failed and I couldn't complete this boss fight. So 2.5k, the least I went. Yeah, so as you can see, again, this build should be about 5 to 6 levels higher when doing this boss fight, and should have a little better gear, a bit more damage. And since the new changes, it's going to be even more damage. But I handled that fight very well. I lost only 2k HP. I mean 2k with not even 2k combined with the energy shield. So you should be just fine. You're not going to die with this build. And I didn't even use Steel Skin. Steel Skin, it's very helpful to use. We are not keeping it on the left click because we are keeping Vortex. When you launch Frostbolt, if you click Vortex, it's going to spawn these vortexes. So that makes more damage, and casting it all the time, it's a nuisance. So we only keep Steel Skin on my secondary button just to use it when I'm bleeding. Now, this is the passive tree that I'm using, again, for level 52. And now I'm going to show you my build, which I did in Scorch League. And this is pretty much what you would expect from the build to look like in the end game. This build is quite min-maxed. It involves gem swapping for difficult bosses. The gems are here, you can take a look at them. If you want a more in-depth explanation of how the build and gem swapping looks like, you can browse for the other videos on my channel, because I have some of them. But basically, you just you just don't use blasphemy, and you self-cast your 3 curses. You have cooling strike on frost bomb. You use malevolence. You get rid of the enfeeble and temporal chains and use punishment and elemental weakness just for more damage. If you don't like pressing so many buttons, because on this build, when you go CI, you are going to have to press a lot of buttons. You are going to have to use Vortex. You are going to have to use Cold Snap, Frost Bomb. Uh, then you have to use Creeping Frost. You also have this shield, and on top of that, you are going to have to use the 3 curses. And the one thing is, you cannot. You're going to run out of hotkeys because you need the Evolved Cold Snap and you need the Evolved Discipline during boss fights. You cannot use them. So it's going to be very clunky to press so many buttons. So if you don't want to gem swap, it also you will have to have at least 2 green sockets, or at least one green, or at least one white socket on 2 different items, and it's going to be a bit more messy of a team fight. Um, but let's just show you a build, a map, uh, to see what you can expect in late game. Um, so this map I have Beyond here with a piece, very juicy map. I'm gonna put Beyond on the map device, and I'm gonna put the June. Keep in mind this build is pretty much min-maxed, but still you can do it very fine to tier 16 without much gear investment. This build is swapped to CI. Now I gained Rampage, and I guess I have to turn off my filter because I don't. It's going to clutter the screen. So for the people that are new to Path of Exile, this is Scourge is not going to be available in the next leagues. As you can see, very nice explosions, very tanky. The map is very dangerous, and I think we're going to rush the boss, not to keep this video very long, because there's no point in you watching mapping. This is just a quick explanation to see what you can expect from the build. This is pretty much how it looks like in the game. It can do all bosses in the game, but it's not going to one-shot them, so you still have this build. The way I designed it, it's very tanky, not so much a lot of damage, and for that reason you are going to have to learn the boss mechanics. Otherwise, you cannot kill them. You still have to dodge and that. But since you are lowering their action speed by quite a lot, I don't think boss fights going to be very difficult. Again, you can play it without gem swapping if you really don't like it. You are just going to lose a lot of damage if you don't gem swap for bosses. But you should also be much tankier because you're using temporal chains and enfeeble. So now I enter the boss fight and show you the damage. Now, if I would gem swap, this boss would be dead. I mean, gem swapping would double my damage, if not triple my damage. But for mapping, this is much better. This is the best setup you can use. Now let's go back to hideout, because again, if you want to see this build much in depth, I advise you. I'm gonna leave a path of building for you if you wanna check it out. But I advise you to watch the videos on my channel where I go in much in depth about the build guide, because it's going to be quite a while. Now I'm just going to go back to the league starter. Don't save. And this is my league starter. This is how I would run it. Um, Go here, Frostwalker, pick the life nodes, head down in this area. Then you path like this. You take these nodes, take the lightning and the cold damage, and then the life, and then after that you move up to this life mastery. And after you take the life master, you take the amplify sovereignty, because by that time you should move to um, spellslinger, and here you take mana reservation efficiency. Here you take life. Here you take flat life, or whichever way you prefer. I think flat life is better early on. Then you're going to travel, take these nodes, infused flesh, breath of rhyme. Then after you take breath of rhyme, you're going to take life on kill, because even though you're not going to use a blasphemy aura, you're going to use frostbite with hex touch and frenzy. So this is going to be very good for killing mobs even during acts. Um, you don't really need to take this damage over time multiplier. You can take it if you really want to, because you're very close to it. But something that is very important is for you to go to this written in blood and take this cold damage and this cold damage, fire damage. Here you take increased effect of non-damaging ailments, and after you take this, you can travel and take growth of and decay, season of ice, whispers of doom. By the time you take whispers of doom, you should have these ascendancies. Maybe you don't want malediction, that's fine. You can take frigid wick to never be frozen, to die to a freeze. And then as a fourth ascendancy, you can take malediction, whichever way. And when you take malediction, you swap to self cast. Um, let me show you real quick what the gems look like on self cast. You have steel skin, increased area of effect with frost shield. Here you have blasphemy, enfeeble, frostbite, temporal chains. If you have two curses, just use blasphemy with enfeeble and frostbite and skip temporal chains. The most important is frostbite, then you take the enfeeble. Now this is my gem setup for my max DPS is going to be two 5 links, frost, creeping frost and vortex with control distraction, elemental focus, swift affliction and hypothermia, because you don't use empower early on. You're going to have shield charge and faster attacks and frost bump, phase run, arcane surge, flame dash. Discipline, you only take discipline when you swapped to chaos inoculation. If you didn't swap to chaos inoculation, you don't take discipline at all. You don't really need it. Then you have clarity here. Here is going to be cold snap with bone chill, elemental focus, and going to take faster casting for mapping. When you're boss fighting, you replace faster casting with either swift affliction or control distraction, depending on your gems. Like I have swift affliction because it's more damage, but that involves to have a white socket, which early on you may not have it. Quick showcase of my gear. You can pause and take a look much closer. This is build again is pretty much min-maxed. One thing that is very important when you swap to chaos inoculation, you are going to be um, to take a lot of stun, to be stunned a lot. So I advise you to swap to chaos inoculation when you have a lot of chance to avoid being stunned, which now since they changed the betrayal crafts in 3.16, it's going to be very easy. Just make sure you can have them, because here is a prefix, here is a suffix. So make sure you balance your resistances and so on. Um, Now this is pretty much the tree that it looks. Still, this is not updated yet because the passive tree didn't came out when I made this build. But uh, you can see here I take a lot of damage over time multiplier, energy shield, chance to block spell damage. Uh, I'll put in the build description a CI swap, which I'm going to use myself. Um, the build is not going to look like that because this involves cluster tools. What I'm going to put is going to be something much better without any cluster tools because it's going to be very clunky. Now, when you get to maps, it's very important that you take these wheels. Here we take 17 to all 12 to all elemental resistances with chaos res, and here you take corrupted blood cannot be inflicted on you. Mm, I think I forgot to put these points here. So if you look here, I should be around level 94 with all these three. And level 94 is quite a lot. Realistically, you're going to swap to Chaos Inoculation about level 90, maybe 92, 92, 93, but it depends on your build. Because if your build is if you have good items, you can swap even at level 70. But I would prefer to go with the Spellslinger version until like level 83, 85, and then swap, make some items and then swap, because I want to have around 7k energy shield, maybe 6k at least. um, yeah, this is pretty much it. I'll leave a link in description with the path of building for the live version and the CI version. um, Bye.